Hey everyone, welcome to Victor Condition Gaming. My name is Doug. Today on the show, I have Brandon Aten, and we're talking about Never Coming Home, the RPG that he's putting out from Wet Ink Games that is hitting Kickstarter October 30th. Hey Brandon, thanks for joining me on the show today. Let's talk about you for a little bit, and then we'll get into Never Coming Home, the Kickstarter that's live right now as of this morning. You want to tell folks a little bit about yourself and Wet Ink Games?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Brandon Aten. I'm a game designer in Louisville, Kentucky. Was born and raised here, spent some time in New Jersey, but I've been gaming since, sixth grade, playing everything from, D&D, the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Robotech, a whole slew of Palladium games, uh,
Nice.
and then dabbling in a whole bunch of indie games as well. Now that I've gotten older and put more things under my belt. And yeah, we started Wet Ink Games, my brother-in-law and I, in 2015. After we'd done a lot of freelance work for other companies, got a lot of projects under our belt, and we were able to learn a lot from all these different companies, and said, well, we have some cool ideas. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, in 2015, we launched our Kickstarter for our very first project, which was called Wild Skies Europa Tempest. And we're also developing some other standalone games, including the one we're going to be discussing today, Never Going Home, which is based off of the World War Occult art book by artist Charles Ferguson Avery.
Yeah, that's really cool. He just had a Kickstarter himself that was the beginning part of this year. That was an art book for pretty much what is all the art that is this what this game is based off of.
Yeah, so Charles, I met him at Gen Con a couple years ago, and we became friends. Started talking on Facebook every once in a while. When we were doing some stuff uh, for Wild Skies, we had some stretch goals, some expansions, little modules that we needed some art for, and so we had Charles do one of those. He did such a great job that we asked him to do another one, and just the art that he was delivering was spot on. And my brother-in-law and I started talking with him a little bit more. And when he launched World War Occult, that was um, a compilation of some of the stuff that he was just doodling on, and he would show some stuff on Facebook every once in a while. We're following his progress on that stuff and saying, man, this stuff looks great. I'm really excited. I want to know more about this world. When he launched World War Hacker of that, and I have my copy right here. It's like it's a great project, great product that he delivered. And we started talking and said, well, would you have any interest in having an RPG developed in that set, or at least using that art? And he was like, absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about it. We had a couple conversations and went from there. And um, Charles is a great guy. We have a good business relationship, and yeah, so we're moving forward the development of this project, and hoping it's going to be as successful as we all think it should be.
As soon as I saw the graphic for this game, I was like, oh, this is really really awesome, and I
Oh
want to
yeah,
know more about this world that this is. I mean, I just was hooked on on just one image, and
yeah,
so I was really really excited. And then once we started talking and you were telling me more and more about it, I was just like, oh, this is kind of this is my jam. I love the like
yeah,
kind of like the I'm like a post-apocalyptic kind of fan. I like that kind of genre. So to
yeah.
have this kind of a cult World War One kind of setting, it really kind of it grabbed me. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to see this campaign just take off for you.
My wife, who's actually she's doing some writing on this project. This is her first
Oh, nice.
gaming project that she's ever done, but she's a prolific writer. She writes all the time, and but she is such a history buff, and World War One is like her wheelhouse, to the point where I
Ah, nice.
like you should just go and go pursue a master's degree in this, and go focus some of the study. She's been reading more and more about it over the past, probably 6-7 years, and we have just piles of books. And like one of my favorites that we have is silver plate photography from World War One. So it's like,
Oh, that's very
oh,
cool.
and they're all super crisp photos. And like a photo is, it's a snapshot in time, but man, it's just, you were talking about post-apocalyptic. It's so dire and
Right.
gritty, and just looking at like the Somme, it's just like blight, it's just a wasteland. And when you see some of these pictures, you're like, I cannot believe that. When you see pictures of the Somme today, you're like, I can't believe that place looked like that
Sure.
years ago. And it's just, it was, as described by some of the soldiers at the time, it was so just mind-numbing that the horrors of war were taking shape in the way that they were, in this period where the change of the level of technology was happening so rapidly, in
Sure.
a day-to-day progress. And so it was just, they didn't know what was coming, like on any given day. And that's one of the things that when Charles had mentioned in the designer notes for World War Occult, when he designed it, the art, it was done not necessarily as like a glorification of war, but an opportunity to show how in periods of wartime there's a certain level of dehumanization that happens either deliberately or inadvertently,
Sure.
just as a way to cope with the horrors of war. And so we really wanted to drive that home with our game design, and I think we've succeeded.
That's awesome. Now this game uses the compass system for its basic mechanics. Is that, at least that's what I've read on all your press releases. You want to tell us a little bit about that system and how the overview of how that all works?
Yeah, well, it's a derivative of the compass system. If
Okay.
there's anyone who's backed Wild Skies or played Wild Skies or seen it, Wild Skies used a very specific compass rose to show where you were in your alignment journey. We used it to combine the experience system and the alignment system, and but we had a very specific way we handled skills with like 5 individual skill dice. So the compass system was based really on percentile. You would roll percentile dice, and you can adjust that roll up or down by up to 5d6, depending on how skilled your character was.
Okay.
So that was the compass system. And what we said with World War Occult, we said we want someone to be able to sit down, create a character in 5 minutes, and we want it to use a very simple mechanics. So we stuck with that 5d6 for each one of the skills. That's the highest you can go in any one of these skills, except instead of having it be percentile based and then you manipulate that roll, we decided to have a certain number of successes, and you use your d6 to roll trying to get those successes. And a success is a 5 or 6. And
Okay.
then depending on your attribute that governs a skill, say like, I'm going to go punch something, so I'm going to use my brawn attribute. You can adjust that roll, by either adding a die to that roll, or adding a pip to a die. So making a 4, you change it to a 5, so it's a success. Things like that.
Yep.
Or you can even use that to say like, well, I don't have the melee skill, but I have pretty high brawn, so I'm going to spend a point to roll a skill that I don't have, and then I'm going to spend a couple points to add dice to that. So it's a lot of manipulation of your dice pool depending on what your attributes are. It's all simple. The gameplay really takes place in 2 halves.
Okay.
We have that skill manipulation with those 5d6. So, and those can be, as any gamer knows, d6 is, raid your Yahtzee game and
Right.
play it wherever you want.
Exactly.
And another half of the game uses just a standard deck of cards. One of the things that we wanted to do was emphasize that dehumanization element that I discussed a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use standard playing cards as those are your experience points, and those are your memories. Those are your character's memories.
Ah,
And so you're using those memories, those experience points, to increase your skills, to add new skills, but you also use those to buff attributes or um, to get magic or some monstrous abilities. So you're losing your memories in order to better your character, to better fight the horrors on this battlefield.
wow. I like that.
And yeah, so you're just constantly burning these memories, and there's a number of things that you can do with those, including heal yourself in combat, or you trade them in for experience, as I was saying. Uh,
Right.
but also, every time your characters go on a mission, there's each mission has some requirements. So okay, we're gonna go we're gonna go to the next village over, in order to uh, fight some monster that's been ravaging the countryside, or whatever we come up with. But the journey to that village requires that every player contribute a card to a pool.
Okay.
All right. And that journey, there could be a requirement. Say, well, we need 3 hearts to be successful on that journey. So everyone contributes a card face down, and the game master might contribute some cards. And the players could even say, well, we're gonna linger, we're gonna take a little bit longer, and we're gonna maybe add a couple more cards from the deck. That might happen if everyone says, I don't have any hearts, and that's what we need. We might want to try to pull some. Um, and then everyone will go around the table. You shuffle those up and you distribute them. You flip them over, and each one represents, something that's going on. Maybe something harrowing, or there was a memory of back home, and you saw something and it reminded you of your kid. And every player goes around and they spend 30 seconds to a minute, like, narrating what that card is. So you all have this collective storytelling moment as you journey to the mission. And
Yeah. Okay.
and if you get all those 3 hearts that I mentioned or something, then you get a bonus on that mission. Maybe you get more experience when you defeat the big bad. Maybe you get bonuses in combat, or maybe you find something along the way that's going to help you out, or you realize that it's a trap, things like that. But if you fail, there's going to be a penalty. Um, and that's a lot of the kind of drama that's driven by these cards, because eventually some of the players might start becoming corrupted by these otherworldly voices that are transforming the creatures and the soldiers on the battlefield. So eventually they're going to start working against the party. Or so it's
I like that. I like that. That's awesome.
so we've had a lot of fun crafting this system, still making the system simple as can be. It's, flip over a card, tell us what that is. Like, we're going to tell you, like, what the category is, and then you spend 30 seconds telling us about it. The name of the game is never going home. Like, every one of your characters, you're going to die. Like,
Yeah. Right.
you're going to die, or you're going to go mad and wander off into the wasteland. Like, something's going to happen. But every one of these characters has as part of the story, has come together in order to fight the horrors that are around the battlefield, that are wandering around this area, in order to protect humanity.
So that kind of brings me to my role to play podcast question that I always ask, that I stole from Kent Blue. If you don't listen to Role to Play Podcast, you should definitely listen to it. It's a great actual play podcast. Kent always, whenever I do these live, he jumps on the chat and he always asks the one question: is this system good for a one shot or for a campaign type game?
We said at one point, we were like, we're going to limit the amount of times you can level up.
Right.
Like, okay, after you level up a 3rd time, like, you're done. But we adjusted that clock, because that was pretty strict, because we have a hand limit in the game and things like that. So we adjusted that clock to kind of lengthen it out. So you could sit there and say, like, we're going to go on a mission. That's what we're going to do tonight. excuse me. Yeah, we're going to go on a mission. That's what we're going to do tonight. Or, it's a longer session. We're at a convention, sitting down with a couple people at the bar. Let's see what we want to do. One or two of these things, and we narrate it. Um, or we can say, well, you could probably get 3-4 good sessions out of those characters, and then you can make different characters.
When is your projected delivery date on this project?
So we had talked with Charles at one point, and said, when we first sat down and we had the conversations about doing licensing the art and developing a game in his story world, or in actually it's a combination. He's been really influential in the stuff, but we decided to, as opposed to doing alternate history, kind of sticking with our history, or alternate fictional setting, whatever. But contractually, we are obligated to release it at Gen Con next year.
Oh,
So,
nice. Okay.
yeah, so it will be delivered. It will be delivered to backers before Gen Con, and it will be available at Gen Con at the Indie Game Developers Network booth, the IGDN booth.
So how much of the book is completed at this point?
So right now, like, all the mechanics are pretty much established, and all written out. Just right now it's just rearranging some of that stuff. Our writers have been working on it for a little over a month and a half, and we get chunks of material every day. So I think we should have the core of the story world done by mid-January, and as I said, mechanics are pretty much done, locked in stone now.
But as of right now, how big do you expect the book to be approximately?
So it all depends on, you're right, on the stretch goals, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in a second, because
Sure.
the way we've done stretch goals is a little differently than we've done in the past. But bare minimum, it's going to be like a 90-page book, right around 96 pages is what we're thinking. It's going to be 7 by 10. So if you happen to have the art book, which is 7 by 10, it'll look same, side by side. But that was just actually serendipitous, considering Wild Skies was also 7 by 10. We just liked the size of it. We'll just continue with that same format. Now our stretch goals, depending on how many are unlocked, we'll be adding digital content as well as physical content at each level. Our initial funding goal is $7,000. If we get to $8,000, then we're going to be having a digital adventure, and that adventure, it's kind of like a mini setting. There's going to be adventure, location, potentially new skills, new monsters, things like that.
Okay.
So, and each one of our development team is going to be working on that. Whereas on the other side, on the physical side, each level we're either adding additional content to the game. So new adversaries running around the battlefield, potentially new allies. We add physical goals. At one level, we're adding a physical journal replacement that has character sheets and journal pages. So if you go to Amazon or whatever and you get your little leather journal pack, they're refills for that, except they're character things. So it becomes an artifact in the world. We're adding those to at all levels, or all deluxe backers and above. And so we have that. And then once we reach a certain level with those stretch goals, those digital stretch goals, we're going to combine those into a mission folio. Okay. So, and that's another physical, tangible reward that's going to be delivered to all deluxe level backers and above. At that level, I mean, they're getting a good deal with the deluxe level already. But as we uncover more stuff, they're getting their character sheet journal, they're getting their mission folio, potentially a bestiary, and a unique set of dice, and all of this stuff as we move forward. So, and we wanted to make sure that even the backers, if they just wanted the book or they just wanted the PDF, they were still able to get those digital rewards for backing early. We didn't want to exclude them. And that's one of those things that I think is very important, because it doesn't matter if you're backing at the PDF level or you're backing at just the base book level. you should still be a part um, of this community and of the development of a product line. It's just something that I always have felt as a designer and as a company owner. Um, it just helps build the community and build faith the in the product itself.
Sure, sure. No, I think you're dead on with that. Absolutely. Now, before we talk about the pledge levels in better detail,
Yeah.
the book itself is full color. Is that what I'm going to assume?
Yeah, it will be full color. So when Charles Ferguson Avery did the original art book, there were a handful of pieces that were uh, done with watercolor, and he does some striking ink work. And when we looked at the original art book, the style is really reminiscent of a soldier's journal in the trenches. And so that's one of the things that we've done is in our design process, we wanted it to feel that way. Um, so like the card mechanic, playing cards were one of the things that soldiers almost always had on them
Right, right.
because it was entertainment and it was small, it was portable, and you could do all kinds of things with them. So that was something we said, oh, that's a cool element that we want to have. The book itself is going to have some of that striking dark ink work, but we also want those watercolor pieces that stand out. And some of the pieces that he had done initially in black and white, we're going to have him revisit those with watercolor and add some color to that. The pages themselves are going to be, we're leaning towards doing like a more of a natural look or like an off-white look for just to give that more of that journal feel.
Sure, sure.
So it's yeah, we went all in with this, and this is our first full color product. So we're having a lot of fun just saying like what can you do with it.
Now, is there any original art that's going to be in this book that wasn't in the art book?
It's a brand new cover. It's fantastic. He's going to be doing new interior art. Any of these new monsters that are coming up through stretch goals and things, he's going to be doing interior art. So if you have the art book, there's going to be some things that you see that are really really familiar. However, there's a lot of new content, and Charles is fantastic.
Now let's talk a little bit about your pledge levels. You've already said that there's a digital pledge level and physical pledge levels. Let's just kind of go over those real quick for folks that are maybe watching this and haven't taken a look at the Kickstarter.
Our first level, it's a digital level. You get your PDF and all of the digital stretch goals that I mentioned previously, and that's $10. That's very very low point of entry. Then after that, if you wanted just the soft cover book, that's going to be a $20 level. You also get the PDF of the book itself in that, and you get all of the digital stretch goals. And then anything above and beyond that is what we call our deluxe pledge levels. Those are the ones that not only give you the digital rewards, but you also get those physical rewards as you move forward.
How many days is this going to be on Kickstarter?
So this launches October 30th, and it's going to go till December 3rd.
Nice.
A little over a month. One of the things that I've found is we always run ours probably a week longer than what the standard like recommendation is, but primarily because I want people to be able to plan and budget for it. If they say, well, that's something that I want, but I can't necessarily do it this pay cycle. I want people to be able to get in when they can afford it, and I never want people to be put in a hard place. So it gives people a little bit more time to plan. Especially with the holidays and everything. It's it's pretty important to me that happens.
If folks want to know more about Wet Ink Games and everything that your company does, where should folks find you online?
Folks can find us on Facebook, just Wet Ink Games. We're in the process of developing our website, and that should be, knock on wood, up by the end of the year. And yeah, but it's very easy to find us on Facebook, and we have a Twitter account if you ever want to reach out to us that way. But we've definitely found that Facebook is a really good resource for us.
Well, Brandon, I want to thank you again for coming on and spending part of your evening with me. And I'm excited to see what this next month plus is going to do for Wet Ink Games. I think we're gonna see this campaign explode. So I'm going to tell everybody that if you enjoyed everything that we discussed tonight, go check out the Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to put the link to the campaign in the description of this video, and go give Wet Ink Games a like on Facebook as well. I'll put that link down below too. I guess that's going to do it for us for tonight. If you like this video, please give it a like down below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It's only because of awesome folks like you that I can have awesome folks like Brandon on my show to talk about these really cool projects that I really get excited about, and I want to tell other folks about as well. This has been Victory Condition Gaming, because winning shouldn't be the only victory condition when you get to the table. We'll see you next time.